Welcome to Ebeledike'S journal, where we have embarked on a journey of exploring an exciting and closer relationship with the Lord. Do join this boat to get better clarity on issues of life.
Hi, my name is Joy Ebeledike, and you're welcome to Ebeledike'S journal. We're still looking at God's plan to deliver man from the satanic nature and the different covenants he made with man in order to accomplish that purpose. Last time, we looked at the Abrahamic covenants. Our conversation today will be on the Old Covenants. The Old Covenant is also referred to as the Mosaic Covenant and sometimes as the law, just the law. So we could refer to it in any of these ways. It's also important for me to let you know that it is very important actually that we understand these covenants, because they are the covenants that lead us into the new covenant in which we operate. Because if you don't understand these covenants, you may not be able to really appreciate the new covenant, which is the one that is perfect. So, recall that Joseph, the grandson of Abraham, was sold into slavery in Egypt by his brothers, and that after several years, Joseph became a very important person in Egypt. In fact, he became the second in command. He became a very powerful person. Recall also that when later there was a famine in his own father's land, he brought his family, the whole of his family, to Egypt, and he settled them in one of the best lands in Egypt, the land of Goshen, which was a very fruitful land. Recall also that many years later, the new Pharaoh, who did not know anything about Joseph, started maltreating the children of Israel. The Egyptians, placed them under hard labor. And years later, the Israelites cried out to God, and God remembered his promise. In Exodus chapter 2, verse 23, it says that God remembered his covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So you see that God never forgets his promises. So God set out to deliver his children. And recall also that in the process of delivering them from Egypt, that he performed several miracles. Remember the miracle where he asked them, each of their families, to kill a lamb and to place the blood of the lamb on their doorposts, and that when the angel of destruction came, he was going to pass over them, but he was going to, kill the first sons of the Egyptians. And this actually happened, and his children were saved just because of the blood of the lamb. And of course, recall also how he separated the Red Sea into two so that the Israelites, could cross over when the Egyptians were pursuing them. And of course, he saved them, and the Egyptians who were pursuing them were all destroyed. So 2 months after their deliverance from Egypt, the Israelites got to a place called the wilderness of Sinai, and they camped at Mount Sinai. And Moses, who was leading them, of course, went up the mountain to confer with God. And God gave him a message for his people. In Exodus chapter 19, verse 4, God said, "You have seen what I did to the Egyptians, and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. Now, therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenants, then you shall be a special treasure to me above all people." Then in Exodus chapter 19, verse 8, all the people answered together and said, "All that the Lord has spoken, we will do." The people said they will do everything the Lord has spoken. So, they expressed confidence in themselves. They felt that they could do whatever, that they had it in them to do whatever the Lord asked them to do. This was an expression of confidence in themselves. And you know what? God noted their self-confidence. Now, in addition to the 10 commandments, the Lord also gave the Israelites other regulations to govern their moral, social, and religious life. So many regulations. All these commandments and regulations are detailed in the books of Exodus, Leviticus, and parts of the book of Numbers. There's so many of them. And these laws required the people of Israel to meticulously observe all these regulations. Now, recall that the Abrahamic covenant that we dealt with last time was unconditional, depended solely on God's faithfulness and on Abraham's absolute faith in God. The Old Covenant, the law of Moses, on the other hand, was conditional. It was based on performance. The people will be blessed if they obeyed, and they will be cursed if they disobeyed. That covenant was not dependent on God's faithfulness. It was not dependent on the people's trust in the goodness and faithfulness of God. It was dependent on the people's ability to keep to all 613 regulations of the Mosaic law. And the Israelites boldly and arrogantly pronounced, "We will do everything the Lord has said." This was a proud statement showing they believed in their strength. You know what? From then, God started treating them differently and harshly. Before then, they had been murmuring. If you read the previous chapters, they murmured when they thought the Egyptians would overtake them. They murmured when they were hungry. They murmured when they were thirsty. But the Lord never raised a finger against them. But guess what? A few days after they said they will do everything, they made a golden image and they worshipped it as their God. And 3,000 of them were killed on that day. So you see the difference between trusting in God's goodness and faithfulness and trusting in your own strength. Trusting in self creates a gulf, a large gulf between God and his people. Thank you for listening to me. See you next time.
Don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell to watch more of Joy Ebeledike'S videos. If you are new to this channel, please go back and listen from episode 1 to get a clearer picture of subsequent teachings. You can also visit blog.joyebeledike.com to read more of her teachings on practical and loving relationship with the Lord. Never forget, you are the object of God's love and affection.